Morning, Monday. I was taking a day off today, but it's such a beautiful day, and I've got such a lovely drive to get to my workshop. Like 20 minutes of this, that I just thought, do you know what? I'm going to go in really early, empty my van into the skip, just do a few little boring jobs really, just make my life a bit easier next week in terms of preparation. And then I've got to nip and see someone and just measure something, have a quick chat with them. And I'll be back in time for the school run, and then my day off is ahead of me, which is brilliant really. It's always, see, when you're self-employed, it's important to try and take the day off when you can. You know, no one really telling me what to do, I can always put a job back or whatnot. You just have to take that time sometimes. And over the years I've been really guilty of not doing it, but equally I've also been brilliant at doing it. I mean, I've had some years where I've had 4 to 5 weeks off in the summer. You just have to remind yourself, and even me, I've woke up this morning and I've just thought, well, I've got a day off, I don't need to get up and do this. But then I thought, I feel like I want to do it, you know, bit of exercise, so I'm doing it. How do you feel about that? How do you feel about that Monday? Okay, it's Monday afternoon, just before I go to pick the kids up. Just thought I'd just show you. This is the next project. It's a boot room for a chap where I'm going to be making tulip wood doors. This one here, come out of this tool, will house a boiler. This will take his boots, funny enough. And this one will just be coats and, you know, excess boots and bits and bobs. And they're all going to be made with tulip wood frames, tulip wood for the actual door fronts. Oh, tulip wood sides, tongue and groove, I think we'll do on that. And then, yeah, that's really what he's going to get. However, I visited his house this morning just to do a really basic, sort of crude, I didn't even draw the window, you see, the window's just using the dotted lines. Just a basic sort of crude mapping out of the room. I spoke in last week's video. Oh no, I didn't include it in the edit actually. But a thing about a thing called rodding out, where you essentially draw a one-to-one version of what you're building in the workshop. Well, I don't need to do that if I've got something like this. I can always adapt and come back to it. I can physically see how big the boiler is. I can see physically how big this access is here. I need to access a water pump. And I can again physically see where these pipes land. So you've got the nice drawing, which it will look like that, and then I've got a working drawing which will just, as the job goes on, I'll be adding bits and all over this drawing just to see how things work. And yeah, that essentially now is my rodding out page. Rather than what I used to do is just, I'd have a big bit of board somewhere, I'd draw it on my old workshop, my first workshop actually, I used to draw on the floor. Just used to paint the floor every couple of months and just redraw what I was building, to the point where I'd draw like whole kitchens out on the floor. And you know, it worked, but you've got the thickness of the pencil all the time creeping up on you for things. You're only as good as your eyesight and your tape measure. Even just different tape measures can be slightly different to the other, and you just get a lot more cumulative errors. Although you're working with wood, you can always plane it and whatnot, and it moves anyway, so you get over these things. But the more accurate you are in the process, the more accurate your outcome will be, and that's the same really, I imagine, with any sort of construction. But yeah, I just thought I'd show you exactly how I do that from my point of view anyway, and just how it's made my life a lot easier. It possibly hasn't improved the speed in which I do things, but it has improved the accuracy and the quality of everything I do, and just made my life better, which is more important to me than speed, to be honest with you. As I'm sure you've gathered by the amount of talking I do, speed isn't really a concern of mine. Yeah, you know, if you're like important enough, people will wait, won't they? That's what I think. And then if they don't wait, it's not my problem. That's what I always say. This is a good one. People go, have you got time to do this? I go, I've got time. Because to me, time's endless. So until I die, I've got all the time you want. And then you say to them, have you got the time? Have you got time for me to do it? Because I can't do it for 3 weeks. So have you got time now?
You know what I mean? Flip it on their head. Not a lot of customers like that, to be fair, but you get the odd laugh. You get the odd little, sometimes you get a sideways look at the partner. That's a good one. Where a bit of a Will Smith moment, you know, where does he stick up for her, or does he think, fuck me, this bloke's funny, I'm going to laugh. And then from that point in, could go anywhere, couldn't it? Could have a great friendship or a bad relationship out of it. Yeah, waffle on. Just kidding, 5 minutes really before I go pick my lad up. Monday's video. Be Monday's video over, I think. Morning, Tuesday morning. Just here at Glenmere Timbers. Okay, right, it's about half one now. Effectively all I've done today is pick my, drop the kids off and picked up the timber for this job. Tulip wood, 17 lengths tulip wood. I buy it all sawn, same as the oaks, all bought sawn, varying grades and thicknesses and whatnot to be processed. But what I have done is I've, subject to my office, my storeroom, I haven't cleaned that, but I've cleaned all the workshop up, got rid of a load of rubbish, pretty much filled the skip again. So I'm gonna get that one changed, and yeah, I just thought I'd just quickly look at the working drawing I did, and I've now broke down the drawer boxes, so I can now see that I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 components to cut, which I'll just go cut now out of a veneer board. I'll lay them all out on the bench, sort of origami style again, and I'll basically just joint, pre-drill, get all those ready to be assembled. Although I've got to pick the kids up, I'll have that done today, so it might seem like sometimes you're not getting much done, but the reality is that will be done today, and that's a job ticked off the list. And then tomorrow I can come in and machine all the timber. I've got a plan, you know. It's just sometimes it's a little bit, you just have these slow days. Yeah, and today's one of them, unfortunately. It doesn't help that I had yesterday off, but such is life. Okay, that's all done. Subject to the edge banding. I'm not actually going to edge band them, or else I would have already done it. But basically, that's the drawer on the inside. Yeah, the cutout. You'll see why there's a cutout. So what I'm going to do, rather than edge band it, because I would have already done it, I've got all this oak lipping, loads of it, and I have this here. Anytime I do anything, I'm going to get any lipping or stuff left over, I can make lipping, I'll put it over there and I'll process it later. I used to always edge all my boards with solid oak lipping anyway, but it's too time consuming, it's not needed for a lot of things. But with this, he's going to be throwing boots in there, so because he's going to be putting, like, you know, dropping boots in and into that little bit in there, the edge banding will perhaps get damaged. So solid oak lipping is the way forward. I'll show you tomorrow how I actually do that. It's quite simple actually. And then this is the tulip wood that we picked up this morning. Just left it there in the middle of the workshop floor. That acclimatised a little bit to what it's like in here before, and I'll start machining it tomorrow. Yeah, happy days. I've got to go get the kids. So see you later. Morning, it's Wednesday. So So I built the drawer yesterday, but which I showed you, but I didn't actually put this lipping on. Now, sometimes what you can do is you can edge band it with a tape. Got some tape and stuff you use up here. It's actual, I don't know, that's melamine tape, and it's like veneer taping. Putting that through the machine. If you look on week 3's video, I think I did that for the understairs storage. But with this, because it's quite a big chunky drawer, and this is actually how I used to do it, what I'm going to do, what I have done, is I've thickness and planed some oak. Still got the saw marks on there. It's thickness and planed that side, and it's just glued and taped down. And then basically when that all goes off overnight, I'll run the flush trim route around, and it will just make the edge sort of seamless. You do as best as you can to try and get a colour match in there as well. But when that goes in, you'll see it'll be a good finish. The reason I thought I'd jump on and show you is because there is some people that use clamps, and they'll pin these down. They'll actually put inner tubes around the clamps. I mean, these clamps are really strong, these like Irwin ones, and they'll put them on there and they'll use that to weigh each one down. Or people pin them. Really, the secret is to make sure the lipping is of such a thickness that it's got rigidity, that each one doesn't need clamping down every sort of 2 inches because it's too flexible. So this is a little bit heavy. This is 8mm, maybe 8mm, 7 or 8mm. You can get away with sort of 3-4mm, and just taping them every 4 or 5 inches. And I've actually done this now for years, doing this method, and taping is the strongest. The as strong as all the other methods, and a lot quicker. I've never had, in fact, it probably is stronger, because I've actually, every now and then I'll have an offcut and I'll just give it a whack with a hammer and stuff, and I've never had a taped one fail. I've actually got a shelf in my office, which is about 4 years old now, which it's got a big overhang on the lipping, and I use it for like, it's like a mouse pad sort of thing. But that's really stood the test of time. You know, that's really had some abuse. Been thrown in and out the van, thrown around the office. I've whacked that with a hammer. That lipping's not coming off. Yeah, so basically you can be as clever as you want with some really expensive clamps, but this is the cheapest masking tape you can buy. Only thing is, just take the masking tape off within 24 hours, because otherwise it is cheap, so it will destroy the board, or it becomes a problem to take off. Right, what I'm going to do now is jump in the office and get my measurements for the tulip wood and just rough cut those to size. And yeah, start fixing the plane and that, and I'll update you as I go. Right then, yeah, just going to do a little bit of talking about what I'm doing over this video rather than music. I'm sort of cutting my teeth really in the world of video and what I do, so just mixing it up a bit, I guess. Yeah, so with this tulip wood for this job, for this boot room that I'm doing, job number 1 for me really, to get them on the journey to get these boards flat and to become doors and panelling, is to get them roughly to the size they need to be. Now this is only rough because we are going to thickness and plane them later and then resize them. The primary goal really is to get them within about 15-20 mil on its width of where I need, and a couple of 100 mil over its length of what I need. Just purely because when we start thicknessing and planing, if we do too longer and wider board, if we thickness it, for example, if I took all my boards and thickness and planed them as I brought them, what would happen is you'd have too much waste, because there's too much deviation in the full width and full length board. By the time you get it flat, you're not really left with a lot. So you'll see here I'm doing multiple sort of length and width cuts just to try and get on my bench there. You'll see that the sort of cut list, the components if you like, which is when the drawing really helps, because you can then just refer back to that and you've got like a visual understanding of what you're doing. Yeah, and you'll see here that they're all roughly uniform width to each other, but they're in no way flat. So to get them flat, we need to pass them over a surface planer. Basically, the primary goal here is, apart from getting 30,000 lacerations to your fingers, the primary goal is to get a complete and utter flat reference point. Now that flat reference point, once you've achieved it, can then be turned and rested against the fence to create a secondary reference point. to get a square board, basically, providing your fence is obviously square. So you'll see that's completely flat and smooth now. But I'm not going to edge joint that, which is where you put it against the fence. So I shall do that on the panel saw, which you'll see in a minute. Yeah, and then you'll see the longer boards that you're passing through. You see the deviations within those, and you can sort of possibly imagine now, if that was a wider and longer board, how much extra work that would take. You see the little dips and hollows on the plate there, just to get it anywhere near, and you'd end up reducing it too much. So with that complete flat face, we then pass that through, and the thicknesser will reference that on the opposite side and take everything and take all the material off to a complete and at a uniform thickness. Then you've got a flat board on both faces really, and completely uniform in depth, and you can run that through the panel saw, clamp down with that jig I've made, and you just basically get a completely straight edge, which I can then reference off the thicknesser again, or I can just pass that through the panel saw. But at some point I will need to put a planed or sanded finish on it. Okay, that's everything you saw from yesterday's video where I picked the stuff up. That's everything thickness and planed. Me again. Me interrupting me. No, you don't want to listen to this. And not what I've got to say. You don't want to listen to what he's got to say. He's actually going to start measuring the boards now. Who wants to listen to that? Anyway, just looking for a little bit of help now. Anyone that's watching these videos, if you could just let me know whether you prefer the music over the sequences, or me talking over it, or a bit of both. Just, yeah, I just would really appreciate, it'd be greatly appreciated, any sort of help that I could get in the comments really. And if you haven't already, you know, like and bloody subscribe. Morning, it's Thursday already. Yeah, I'm going to jump in the workshop now. I'm going to whack the cupboard together as quick as I can, glue some blanks together so I can do the styles on the doors so that doesn't hold me up. And I'm also going to make the oak top as well for the bench sort of area. I've got to do things all in the right order. I'm just going to go as quick as I can today because I've got to nip off at 3 and do another job. And I'll probably just wait you on time lapses for that, and might do a bit of waffling on in between time. Right then, see you in a little bit. Okay, cool. So I forgot I was going to do the flush trim routing of the drawer that I did yesterday. So I've just done that, gone over it with a bearing guide on a straight bit. on a small palm router, and I've just sanded the edges in with the ECS sander. So I just thought I'd show you now exactly what the lipping sort of looks like. You know, you struggle to see that. It's a solid piece of oak on the top, and that's the same all the way around. Just got to do, I mean, you don't see any of the back anyway, but yeah, just thought I'd show you that. Good morning, it's Friday. I'm in the workshop this morning, cracking on with stuff. I've unclamped this this oak top, which I jointed up yesterday, and I thought I'd show you. You see how flat that is along there? I thought I'd show you exactly the best way to achieve that. You see these ends where they're joined, how they want to be completely square, because if they're not square, the boards are going to kick and follow the pattern. So actually, it's really hard to achieve complete and utter squareness. So at the moment, I'm just setting up the thickness planer for some other bits and bobs, and you can see you get that in there. I mean, if that was quarter of a mil out, then that would transpire to sort of essentially quarter of a mil out on here would be a 1 millimetre out 4 times that. So every 4 of these, quarter of a mil, it'd be 1 mil out. Or if it was an 1/8 of a mil out, obviously 8 of those, it'd be 1 mil out. So that would soon have an effect on your boards where they go up and down, which quite often you'll see on worktops and things. So what I do is I've drawn it on here. Now, if you're planing boards and they end up, I've exaggerated it, and they end up being out, when you clamp them together, they'll do that. So some people will, obviously you alternate your growth rings, they'll move them, they'll sort of shape them in as they go. What I do is I mark each board. So I've marked it here, arse cut and face cut. That's basically what I do. So basically I always look at the face cut, so they alternate. So it's face, arse, face, arse, face, arse. So basically, the face, I'll make sure I see that when I'm planing against the fence. The arse, I make sure I can't see it. Can see it, can't see it, can see it, can't see it on that label. Then that means that those boards, when they go together, they're going opposite ways. Any allowance of it being out square. This, like I say, this is exaggerated, but if that was quarter of a mil or an 1/8 of a mil, each time you're putting the reverse of it against itself, so you're making like a compound angle. And technically, it's actually a stronger joint. Not that it sort of quantifies too much, but yeah, you adding those together. So if you look, that's what you get if you kept adding them up. But if you flip them over, they actually meet and you'll get a straight line. And there's only really one way to do that, and that's to lay all your boards out and then mark them in that way. Right, so after that, I've just started unclamping all of that, scraping the glue off, started knocking these down on the jig. So I'm going to get all my rails and stiles cut. I've actually done the door stiles, they're still nice and straight. I've unclamped those. So I'm just going to cut everything to size. I'm not going to do a time lapse of that because I do loads of time lapses. I'm just going to get everything prepared. Then I'm going to lay the doors out and probably pick you up then, see how we're getting on in an hour or so. Right, just going to give you a little update. They're all sort of on the benches now, as they're going to be. Marked all my centres, my rails are going. You lay them out like this before. Next job is to put them on the spindle model and rebate the edge for the panel. But I lay them all out like this, so I can just double check the grain orientation. If there's any really nasty big bits, I can get rid of those, any blemishes off by putting them to the back of the door if possible. But it's all getting painted anyway, so it doesn't matter. But yeah, I normally do these in MDF. I do no end of these in MDF. I've got one down there actually. Yeah, that's an MDF one. Yeah, that's been knocking around now for 4 or 5 years in all sorts of conditions. It's held up. Once the paint's on, they just stay straight. If that was a timber door, it'd have probably whipped and bowed by now, the different conditions it's been in. But the customer wanted real wood, which is a pain really, because if anything moves, I'm liable for it. But I'm probably going to start doing a few more real wood doors. I've done plenty in my time, but just because the MDF costs at the moment, they're like I pay Spindle, Medite Pro or Hydrofugal Finter products. I'm paying anything between 80 quid to 160 quid a sheet. And actually the quality is shit now. I've had some real problems recently with it just not painting as well. Not so much the edges. I can always get the edges spot on by polishing them and sealing them. I can always get a really good finish on the edge actually. But it's the actual face of the MDF. It's just constantly having to knock it back. And I've tried oil-based products on it as well. Tried shellac, oil-based, the lot. Just all does the same thing. Just leaves a slight furring. Yeah, I know you have to spray fillers on it for the proper finish, but I've never had that problem before. Never had it where it's shone as bad as it has. Whether or not I'm looking at it in a little bit more detail, I don't know. But yeah, it's nice to have a change and do some. I did do some ash doors this year, but yeah, I haven't done tulip wood for probably 3 or 4 years to be fair. Yeah, and actually I've forgotten how well it machines. You know, it's machined lovely. Really has, just needs sanding. But I mean, even the planed finish on it is lovely actually, and just light work as well. You know, no struggling with a planer. Right, well, I'm gonna get on, have a bite to eat, and I'm gonna jump on the spindle mould and I'll get these doors assembled today. Right, I'll speak to you in a little bit. Yeah, the whole point of these videos is really just to document the good and the bad, and I might as well fill you in on this. So basically this is my workbench right now. All that on top of that door. This is my spindle moulder and a pulley block that I've rigged up there just to tip it on its arse. Just because this was stuck in there. It's happened to me once before. You don't often need to change the spindles, but about a year ago I changed the spindle to suit most of my cutters. But I'm actually going to switch over to a 30 bore now, and I can't get the right reducing ring, so I've just changed the whole spindle. Fucking hell, it's taking me 2 hours to get that out. And I don't even know if I can get the new one in because I think the rod is a different size. But yeah, bore like. Yeah, I fixed it. Got it up and running. Hey, how about that? Look at the cue action there. Look, no need for a power feed. Snooker loopy. Right then, end of the day. Got them done. Actually got the spindle moulder fixed, which is fucking relief. But yeah, so doors are done. There they are. There they are. And there's the drawer. Shout out Jessops, the old 323. 20 years old, that tripod. It was CLS, got oak, got redwood. Just hyper performing really with that. Right, I'm going to go home. See you later. See you next week.